Her brother lived in my house rent-free for months, then told me, "You need to respect the rules of my sister's house." I just nodded, but when I gave them both a formal 30-day eviction notice, they learned whose house it really was. It all came to a head over a thermostat. That's the most ridiculous part. Not some grand betrayal, but the temperature of my own house. A house I bought with my own money, 5 years before I even met my girlfriend, Sarah. Her brother, Kevin, has been living with us for 4 months. The original agreement, brokered by a tearful Sarah, was that he would stay for a month, maybe 2 tops, while he got back on his feet after losing his job. In the 4 months since, the only thing Kevin has gotten back on is my couch, where he has successfully fused with the cushions. His only job seems to be pioneering new methods of leaving a trail of snack food wrappers in his wake. I came home from work last night, a long 12-hour day on a construction site, to find the house cranked up to a balmy 80 degrees. It was like walking into a jungle. Kevin was sprawled on the couch in shorts playing a video game on my 75-inch television, a bead of sweat on his forehead. "Kev, what's with the heat?" I asked, trying to keep the exhaustion out of my voice. He didn't even pause his game. "Felt it chill, man," he said. I walked over to the thermostat and turned it down to a more reasonable 70. A few seconds later, the air conditioning kicked on with a grateful sigh. Kevin paused his game. He actually turned and looked at me, his face a mask of annoyance. "Dude, what are you doing?" I had it set there for a reason. "It's 80 degrees in here, Kevin. I'm not paying to air condition the entire neighborhood." And that's when he said it. The line that future historians will point to as the precise moment my relationship ended. He stood up, puffed out his chest, and with a completely straight face told me, "Look man, you're a guest here too, in a way. You need to respect the rules of my sister's house." I just stared at him. The sheer, uncut audacity of it was breathtaking. It was like a work of art. The words just hung in the air, shimmering with a kind of surreal, idiotic majesty. My house. The one my name is on the deed for. The one I pay the mortgage, the taxes, and the ridiculously high utility bills for. Was now his sister's house, and I needed to respect the rules. Sarah walked in from the kitchen at that moment, holding a bowl of microwaved popcorn, clearly for Kevin. She saw the tension. "What's going on?" "Your brother just informed me that this is your house, and I need to follow his rules," I said, my voice completely flat. Sarah just rolled her eyes, but not at him, at me. "Oh my God, don't be so dramatic," she said. "He just likes it a little warmer. Don't be a baby about it." She didn't defend me. She didn't correct her freeloading brother. She sided with him. In that moment, it all clicked into place. They weren't 2 separate problems. They were a team, a parasitic entity that had attached itself to my life. They saw me not as a partner or a host, but as a resource, an inconvenient landlord who just happened to live in their house. I didn't argue. I didn't yell. I just looked at Kevin, then at Sarah. I nodded slowly. "You're right," I said. "My mistake." I walked past them, went upstairs to our bedroom, and closed the door. They probably thought they'd won. They probably thought I was sulking, that I'd get over it by morning. They were wrong. I wasn't angry anymore. I was an architect, and I was quietly and methodically drawing up the blueprints for their complete and total removal from my life. I sat down at my desk and opened my laptop. The first thing I did was search for landlord-tenant lawyer. The second thing I did was search for the proper legal eviction process in my state for a tenant at will, which is what they had become. They thought they were making the rules. They had no idea they were about to be introduced to a much more official rulebook, and I was going to enjoy reading it to them. Update 1. It's been a week since the Great Thermostat Summit of last Tuesday. The response to my original post was overwhelming. Thanks for confirming that I'm not, in fact, the crazy one here. The day after Kevin declared my home a sovereign state ruled by his sister, I had a consultation with a lawyer. He was a sharp, no-nonsense guy who confirmed what my research had told me. Since Sarah and Kevin had lived in the house for more than 30 days and had established residency, getting mail here, etc., I couldn't just change the locks. I had to follow the formal eviction process. It was a minor inconvenience, but doing it by the book would make the final outcome legally ironclad. That was all that mattered. My lawyer drafted 2 identical, formal, 30-day notices to quit. not a friendly letter. An official legal document citing termination of tenancy with their full names and a move-out date exactly 30 days from the date of service. I chose to serve them on Friday night. I wanted their weekend to be ruined, just as they had ruined so many of mine. I came home from work and found them in their usual positions. Sarah on her laptop at the kitchen table, online shopping, and Kevin on the couch, yelling at teenagers in his video game. I didn't say a word. I just walked over to Sarah and placed the folded document on top of her laptop. Then I walked over to the couch and placed the other one on Kevin's chest. "What's this?" Sarah asked, annoyed at the interruption. "It's a legal notice," I said calmly. "You should read it." She unfolded it. Her eyes scanned the first few lines, the legal jargon, the bolded words, "Notice to quit." Her face went from confused to pale to a deep, blotchy red. "What is this?" she finally whispered, her voice trembling. "You're evicting me?" Kevin had paused his game and was reading his own copy. "Dude, what the hell? You can't evict us. This is Sarah's house." The delusion was apparently terminal. "No, Kevin," I said, my voice as cold and steady as I could make it. "This is my house. The deed is in my name. The mortgage is in my name. The bills are in my name. You are both tenants at will, and your tenancy has been terminated. You have 30 days to vacate the premises. It is all perfectly legal." Sarah finally found her voice, and it was several octaves higher than usual. "You're ending our relationship over the thermostat? Are you insane? You're throwing me out over a stupid fight?" "No, Sarah," I said. "The thermostat was just a symptom. I'm ending this because you and your brother have made it clear that you see me as a walking wallet, not a partner. I'm ending this because your brother, a man who has not contributed a single dollar to this household, had the audacity to tell me to respect the rules in my own home. And I'm ending this because you stood there and defended him. This has been coming for a long time." The tears started then, but they weren't tears of sadness. They were tears of pure, frustrated rage. She started screaming about the years she had put into our relationship, how I was a cruel, heartless monster. Kevin chimed in, blustering about his rights and how he was going to sue me. I just stood there and let them burn themselves out. When they were finally done, I said, "The notice is legal. A copy has been filed with the court. You have 30 days. I suggest you start packing." The rest of the weekend was a living hell, which is exactly what I expected. They tried everything. The silent treatment, the loud, pointed phone calls to their mother, where Sarah would sob about how I was throwing them out on the street for no reason. Their mother called me, of course, and I calmly explained the situation. She tried to guilt-trip me, but I just kept repeating, "They have 30 days. My decision is final." The house has now been divided into armed camps. They have barricaded themselves in the guest room and Sarah's old office. The atmosphere is thick with resentment. They think this is a negotiation. They think I will break. They are about to learn how wrong they are. 28 days left. Update 2. We are now 20 days into the 30-day eviction period, and the desperation tactics have escalated in ways that are almost comical. They genuinely believed I would cave. Every day that I don't, their panic grows. The first week was about psychological warfare. They would deliberately leave messes in the kitchen. They'd use every single dish and leave them in the sink. They'd blast music from the guest room at all hours. I didn't engage. I bought paper plates, put a lock on my bedroom door, and invested in a very good pair of noise-canceling headphones. Every mess they made, I photographed, dated, and saved to a file labeled evidence. When the passive aggression didn't work, Sarah switched to emotional manipulation. She would leave old photos of us around the house. She would try to start conversations about the good times. She even tried to cook me my favorite meal one night and act so out of character that I was momentarily stunned. "I was wrong," she said, her voice soft and pleading. "We can fix this. Just tear up those papers. Let Kevin stay a little longer until he finds a job. We can go back to how things were." "The person you were with is gone, Sarah," I told her, not touching the food. "You and your brother killed him. You have 22 days left." The biggest shift happened when they realized the financial reality of their situation. I had, of course, immediately separated all our finances. The joint account was closed. Her supplementary credit card was canceled. I changed all the passwords to the streaming services, the Amazon account, everything. The gravy train had not only left the station, it had been decommissioned and sold for scrap. Sarah's part-time job as a social media consultant brings in just enough to cover her car payment and her online shopping addiction. It's not nearly enough to afford a 2-bedroom apartment for her and her deadbeat brother. Kevin, it turns out, has not applied for a single job in the 4 months he's lived here. His plan to get back on his feet apparently involved my feet and my wallet. Last week, they tried a more direct approach. I came home to find Sarah, Kevin, and their parents sitting in my living room. An ambush. Michael, her father, began, trying to sound reasonable. "We think this has gone far enough. You've made your point. Sarah is sorry. Now, let's be adults and tear up this silly eviction notice." "There's nothing silly about it," I said. "It's a legal document, and it's not up for discussion." "You are putting my son out on the street," her mother cried. "Your son is a 30-year-old man who has been living off me for 4 months, I replied. "He is your responsibility, not mine. As of 12 days from now, he will be your problem to solve." The conversation devolved from there. They accused me of being cruel, of betraying Sarah. They just couldn't grasp the core concept. Their children's comfort was not my legal or moral obligation. They had overplayed their hand so badly that they had lost the entire game. As they were leaving, defeated, her father pulled me aside. "You'll regret this," he hissed. "The only thing I regret," I said, looking him dead in the eye, "is not doing this 3 months ago." They are now in a state of frantic activity. They are finally looking for apartments and discovering that their budget gets them a shoebox in a bad part of town. The reality of what they have lost, a beautiful free home, is crashing down on them. 10 days left. I've already started stocking up on packing tape and boxes. Not for them, for me. I plan on having this entire house professionally deep cleaned and purified the moment they are gone. Final update. The 30-day countdown has concluded and the freeloaders have been launched. I'm writing this from my blessedly quiet, clean, and empty house. The sense of peace is indescribable. The last 10 days were a blur of pathetic bargaining and frantic packing. They finally realized I was not bluffing. The closer the deadline got, the more their entitled rage was replaced by a kind of pathetic, whimpering fear. They couldn't find an apartment they deemed suitable on their budget, which was a shock to them. Apparently, most landlords expect tenants to have a steady income and a decent credit score, 2 things they lacked as a team. On the final day, I took no chances. As my lawyer had advised, I had a sheriff's deputy scheduled to arrive at noon, the exact moment the eviction became legally enforceable, to supervise their removal and prevent any last-minute drama or destruction of property. They were still frantically throwing things into trash bags when the deputy knocked on the door. The sight of a uniformed officer on the porch seemed to finally crush their last bit of resistance. The fight was completely gone from their eyes. Watching them haul their cheap furniture and bags of clothes out of my house was a surreal experience. Every box they carried out felt like a physical weight being lifted from my own shoulders. Their parents arrived in a rented U-Haul, their faces grim and angry. They wouldn't even look at me. They just helped their defeated children load up their lives. The final, most satisfying moment came as Kevin was carrying out the last box. He stopped on the porch, looked back at me, and with a spiteful sneer, said, "You're going to be lonely in this big house all by yourself." The deputy, a big guy with a deadpan expression, just raised an eyebrow. "Son," he said, his voice dripping with boredom, "I think he'll manage." Kevin's face turned bright red, and he scurried away. It was a perfect, understated end to his reign of terror. The aftermath has been exactly what they deserved. They moved back in with their parents. From what I've heard through a mutual friend, it's a complete disaster. Their parents' small, quiet suburban home has been turned into a war zone. Kevin and Sarah, accustomed to living in my spacious house with no rules, are chafing under their parents' roof. They are reportedly still unemployed, still entitled, and now they are their parents' problem. About a month after they left, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. It was their mother. It wasn't an angry tirade. It was one simple sentence: "I think I understand now." I didn't reply. My revenge wasn't loud or explosive. It was quiet, legal, and absolute. I didn't just kick them out. I forced them to confront the consequences of their own entitlement. They thought the world, and specifically me, owed them a comfortable life. They learned that a life of comfort is something you build, not something you leech from others. They had a golden ticket, and they threw it away because they were too arrogant to be grateful. I've spent the last month reclaiming my space. I had the entire house repainted. I sold the couch Kevin had colonized and bought a new one. I can set my thermostat to whatever temperature I damn well please. The silence is the best part. No loud video games, no passive-aggressive sighs, no sense of being used. They tried to make my house theirs. They tried to make their rules my rules. But in the end, a piece of paper, a deed, and then an eviction notice was more powerful than all their delusion and entitlement combined. They didn't just learn whose house it was. They learned what it costs to lose a home you never deserved in the first place. And that, my friends, is a lesson you can't put a price on.